replay.
안녕하세요. 이전에 찍게 자들 펑이셔다 오늘 저 오늘 can you I'm not good at video not here. And so with today's video we're going to be talking about God's mercy God's mercy towards deceivers. And so a little recap of what happened last week. We talked about how Isaac was getting old now, and so he needed to renew his promise to another person in order to keep that lineage going. And so he promised Isaac that he will get an heir, but this time he'll get two people, like two children. All right, and in this case, he defied humanly wisdom by saying that let's call this one the older one. Okay, the older one will serve the younger one. All right, and so that just defies human logic, and so God just used that as a little means of saying, he sometimes he goes beyond the humanly logic in order just to complete his will. And so with today, talking about God's mercy to deceivers. Before we get into this message, I would like you guys to first of all read Genesis chapter 27, verse 18 through 20, and also within that same chapter, read verses 25 through 29. And then after that, I would like for you guys to read Genesis chapter 27, verse 30 to 41, and also Genesis chapter 28, verse 10 to 15. And so read those four passages so far so that you'll have a little understanding of what we're going to be talking about today. So pause the video and come back, okay? Alright, so thank you guys all for reading that passage. And so before we begin this little message, I want to just ask you guys a little question. Think about it too. It's what do you desire? That's the question I want to ask. What do you desire? What do you want? Just think about it for a little bit. Maybe a person, a thing, or just an event you want to happen. But just think about what it is that you truly desire. Alright, now actually getting to the meat and potatoes of this message, we're in Jacob's perspective now, where he's actually going to receive his blessings from Isaac, his father. And so in this case, if you remember from the last chapter, that Esau had sold his birthright to Jacob for a bowl of stew. And so in the sense, this was Jacob's right to go claim it. But then the thing is, Isaac did not know about it. And so Jacob knew that Isaac did not know. And so he had to deceive his father somehow in order to receive that blessing. And so Genesis chapter 27, verse 18 through 20 was exactly how Jacob did so. He cloaked himself in fur so that he will mimic his brother's hairy chest, you could say. Yeah, and so back to the question about how what do you desire in life, or what do you want in life? It's like the other question is, when have you deceived someone else or some people to get what you desired or wanted? The other question of that is, how did they react? And so with the passage of Genesis chapter 27, verse 30 through 41, it was exactly like moments afterward Jacob had received the blessing from his father Isaac. Esau came in and he demanded, he asked his father Isaac for his blessing as well. But then Isaac had told Esau that, I already gave your blessing away. And so in this case, everything that you would have inherited is now your brother's, and now you will serve your brother. And that did not sit well with Esau. And I believe it was the last two verses. It talked about how Esau, he vowed to kill his brother because of that treachery, because of that deceiving. Hopefully the person or the people that you deceived to get what you want, they didn't act this way as well. I hope. So in the last passage about Genesis chapter 28, verse 10 to 15, it talked about how Jacob, when he found out that Esau was trying to kill him, he ran away, and then he came to a cave, I believe. He came to a cave and he fell asleep. And so God showed him a big stairway to heaven where angels are traveling back and forth from it. And also God told him that he will bless Jacob and make him that great nation that he promised Abraham and he promised Isaac. And so he inherited God's blessing. But yeah, if we think about it, it was Esau that was the heir, the firstborn, that was going to inherit everything that Isaac had and God's promise. But yet, in this case, Jacob used deception to get that blessing. But wait, did God just bless Jacob's deception? I mean, deception's a sin, right? Did God just bless a sin? Well, of course not. God will not bless sin. Sin stands it stands for everything against what God stands for, and so God will not bless sin first and foremost. So why did God bless Jacob? Why did he? Two answers: mercy and grace. That's it. That is it. Mercy and grace. Like how we mentioned in previous passages, we talked about how the people that God uses to complete his will are not perfect people, but they are the perfect choice. And so if you guys remember reading in Matthew chapter 1, yeah, the whole passage, or most of the passage talks about how the lineage of Abraham, going to Isaac, going to Jacob, and going to however many people came afterward. It talked about the lineage of Jesus and where he came from. And he came from the line of Jacob. And so remember what God said. He was like, I'll bless your descendants that come after you. And so in this case, Jesus was a descendant of Jacob. And so if God did not bless him, then in a sense, he probably would not have blessed Jesus as well. And what did Jesus do for us? He saved us. And so we can be part of that, the great nation that God had promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And so if he did not bless his descendants, then we would not have been blessed as well. And so in this case, God did not bless Jacob because of, his deception. He blessed him because he had grace upon Jacob. And the thing about how this applies to us as well, and so just with that question I asked you guys earlier about, what do you desire and how have you deceived people in order to get what you desire and how they reacted? It goes the same thing along with that. Jacob used deception to get what he wanted, and that was a sin against God as well. But yet God still had the mercy and grace to forgive him and bless him because he knew that he had an integral part in accomplishing God's will. And same thing with us. We have each our own individual way in order to complete God's will that he has for each and every single one of us. And if he did not forgive us, then we probably will not have that chance to fulfill that promise that God had. God is going to show through us accomplishing his will. And like I said about how God will bless Jacob's descendants, like we are the descendants of him as well. Jesus came down so that we may be included in this lineage of God's people that he will bless. And so same thing goes with us. We are not perfect people, but God still uses us to accomplish the will that he has for us in our lives. And so that concludes our message for today. I hope you were all blessed or learned something new out of this that you guys can use toward your daily lives. And I pray that God continually work within you so that you can become a very strong Christian and just be open to what he has to say and be open to what his will has for you. And so I pray that he be in your lives and he be blessing you. And so I wish you all a very good week and see you next week. All right. Replay, replay, replay.